This conference will now be recorded.
The time being 4:45 p.m., I'd like to call the meeting of July 21st, 2022 to order. First order of business is the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next on our agenda is to review and approve the minutes of 7/7/2022.
Chairman, I have
Yep, Selectman Constantino.
there was a significant input to this, very important input by various members of the Board of Selectmen, and after a period, there was no interest from the board to pursue this project. Well, number one, we did not do a consensus nor a motion, so that statement is inaccurate. But I personally believe that we need those points in there on why, or the reasons, some of the reasons we're not willing to pursue this, particularly since that it's social media. We do need these things in there. There are significant reasons why we did not want to pursue these. It's part of our minutes, it's part of our meeting. It should be part of our minutes.
What specifically would you have added back into the minute
Well,
that doesn't exist in there now?
it does, all it says here is his presentation. There's nothing about the,
Details of the presentation?
right, what you said, what I said, what John said about, it goes against our zoning ordinance, the traffic, building on wetlands, would the Route 3 billboards come down, and in the future, would you be building another Route 3? The answer was yes. These are the questions that built up to a point where we made a decision, or individually, we never took a consensus and we never took a vote, which is on my selectmen's reports tonight, but we still, you have the body of a presentation and that's all you have. And then you have one sentence that said there was no interest in the board to pursue it. Well, why? You're not telling anybody. So 2 years from now, somebody came and presented something and then there was no interest. Well, why was there no interest? There's nothing there to say why there wasn't any interest.
I'm not sure that I read their presentation the same way you did, Selectman Constantino, because I thought that they were just putting the idea on the table of the possibility of presenting a formal request to lease the land. And they weren't asking for a decision at that time. That's my read of it. I'm not sure what anyone else on the board feels.
I didn't know we were actually voting on this because I dismissed it out of hand.
If we're not, then we need to remove, there was no interest from the board to pursue this, because we didn't taken action on it. Do you see what I'm saying?
Mhm.
This indicates there should have been an action, that we did take an action on it, that there was something that was said that indicated to the person taking the notes that there was a consensus that said, oh, they're not going to pursue this.
So we should strike that sentence.
That would solve the problem.
Mhm. I think so.
So just strike the
Right.
sentence.
So that after a question sentence?
Right.
Yes, the last one.
I mean, there was a lot, you'd say after a question and, I mean, you don't even have to say after a question and answering
Right, just strike the
period. It's, it was open to the board, period. We talked about it, we didn't do anything about it, period. But saying that sentence indicates that we did something, and we didn't.
There's no motion, there's no
Right.
second.
Exactly.
So that's a proposed amendment to the minutes?
Strike that sentence, yes.
And on
Mr. Pyro.
page 3, under employee manual, first sentence, it should be June 19th or Juneteenth or whatever it's called, but it says June 9th.
Okay.
That's not the proper name of it. I'm not 100% sure with it, but I do know it's not that.
Make a motion to approve the minutes of the meeting of July 7th, 2022 as amended.
Second,
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. Those in favor of approving the minutes of 7/7/2022 as amended, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. Next on our agenda are the Tilton Northfield Fire Commissioners. Gentlemen, if you want to pull the,
where should I sit?
I think we should get you
Right, can I
a
sit,
little red hat,
can I sit right?
little red fire.
Are
Jeannie,
we
where-
making a decision?
I don't know, where should I?
You can sit there, right? You're not making a
I love
decision.
those red
Are you
flags.
representing the commissioners?
So no, well, I guess, well,
I mean, it wouldn't.
Representing them.
Jeannie, while they're getting ready for the climax, is that just the chairman?
What?
Just the chairman signing, is that the climax chairman signing?
Yeah.
I'm pretty loud.
oh, yeah, I'm gonna go over. and sit
We don't
with my
want
fellow
Dale to get angry.
Representing that.
Chief.
Yeah.
So,
We know who you are. We're comfortable with it.
I think you're fine.
Great.
If they're
Yeah.
comfortable with it,
I was gonna sit in the middle of the table. It's like,
Right
we
there.
know you're more valuable, they find this more valuable, you get on here on time.
Gentlemen, how are you this evening?
Wonderful.
Good. It's nice to have you here. So what's on your mind?
Well, I guess we were approached in regards to the field of the property remaining after the police department. There's brought to our attention that is there an interest to look at that as a possible station location? That's kind of what we heard, so we're trying to learn more.
No, I'm interested in it.
So if you recall.
Oh, yeah, I remember.
I remember us being approached.
Either way,
What?
either way, I think that that's a prime use for the fire department. I think it's good for Tilton as part of a 2-station system. Build out on Park Street and have a substation over here with an ambulance, a little truck or whatever, and have the main station even over there. whatever it takes. But I think that's a much better use of the land than a skateboard park or whatever. And I don't mean to belittle the idea of a ball field, or I really don't. I just think that that land has higher purpose.
I agree with Selectman Jessamy. So I think it would be a prime spot to be able to get the town services in that area. It would be a good thing, as much as we would like to be able to have a park space. I think that 22 years of seeing the engines try and get out on the main street has been tough. And I know I had a brief conversation with Chief Seatar one day, and as you all know, I'm sure the number of calls has gone up exponentially when you go east of exit 20, which would probably be very helpful, I'm sure.
So what do we need to do to move this forward?
What
Well,
does the commission want to do?
I guess it's the ultimate question is going to be, is it going to be a cost to the land? I mean, ultimately, that's what's,
I wouldn't feel comfortable any other way.
Okay.
I'm not looking to make money on the sale. I wouldn't be, not for a municipal organization, and it fits within the deed restrictions.
Right.
Because it can only be used for municipal purposes. We can't put in putt-putt golf or, a new store, although I like to putt-putt golf.
bring the Indy 500 back.
We get our money back and fire station, emergency services, depot here in Tilton. Because right now, nobody's happy.
This question may put the cart before the horse, gentlemen, but maybe off the top of your heads, what are you thinking about the station here in town?
Demo, right off the top of my head,
Yeah.
not off of our books. What, if you want to make it a museum, you want something like that, once we get something else built, Center Street Station can be used in some other fashion. If you want to trade the property for property, I think that's a good fair trade for us.
It's an interesting trade for you. I don't know what they would go for. Seems like there's a potential for, they'd say, parking lot. We have parking problems.
Correct.
Okay.
Although I love the fire station. That would be a sad,
It has historic value, unfortunately. Is there something that could be used in that, a store or something like that? That's would be back onto the municipal to deal with.
yeah.
I can tell you that from a fire district, at least one person, it's just an additional resource that we would be paying for and things like that, but that we don't want to. Once we move out of there, I would like to see it moved out of there completely once it's done.
I have a question.
Mr. Jessamine.
I don't see two commissioners.
No, you don't.
Oh, duh, just duh.
That's
But I
why-
only
that's
see
why he
two.
was- That's why he was asking to go to the other side of the table. I think it was solely for you.
I forgot this.
That was a big one. That's almost as bad as I
That's
hate
bad.
lawyers.
Oh, no, I still hate lawyers.
There are a couple of obstacles that we need to, not huge obstacles, but we did, in fact, when the police station was voted on, we made promises at town meeting that need to be lived up to. That if we were to change, that we promised that there would be a field, football field there. I don't know whether or not that goes back to town meeting or not.
I'm sure it would.
Would have to
I'm
go
certain
back
it would.
to town meeting or not. I don't know if that's a difficult thing or not. I don't
We
expect
can
it
put
would
that
be.
right on the warrant, can't we?
Yeah.
So
But
there,
in the history, I mean, I've been on the police study, which overlapped a couple of life safeties, that there's no question in the last 14, 15 years that the center is right there in that area for the for the calls. That would be a perfect location as far as calls would go. But I think having that one, and we could do a little bit of research on, I think Jeannie could, as far as the promises that were made during the, if we voted on the police station, what would then happen with the field. We did make some very definite promises that we should keep. If we can't keep, we should go to town meeting to make sure that we rectify that.
The space isn't big enough for a football field. That I can tell you definitively. So
And I remember
we talked about
statements being made, but nothing was codified. Pure and simple. That said, I definitely think we should go back to town meeting because things were said. And let's get the, if the townspeople want a park, we're gonna have a park, a dandy park.
You'd have to go to town meeting, I mean, district meeting anyway. but
Well, you have to go
the
to
plans
district meeting.
anyway,
You
so-
could go the same way. I mean, I don't think that that's
Just-
difficult. You could go the same year. It doesn't matter. With one on the warrant and the other one on the warrant, it doesn't, I don't think that that would be a hindrance. I don't think.
So to update you where the fire station committee meetings and stuff is at this, we're still in the proposal phase. So we're looking to get requests for proposals out and get contractors in. So we haven't committed to an absolute square space, three-dimensional drawings or anything like that. We're actually going to be going to the public in March to let them know that this is where we're trying to do. So we're not looking to build this year. We're looking to build the following year. However, changing in locations does change our request for proposals, things like that. They can be worked out, but the other thing is, this has been, the cost of everything, as everyone here knows, is not going down. Ideally, yes, there's enough space over there. Just looking at the yard lines of the football field on map, you probably have about 150 feet of useful frontage that we could have as ramp space in front of the station, with the station back far enough. Access to public parking and stuff might have to go around the police station, like that back around there, because you got the Tanger parking lot there that kind of is landlocked on that side of the parking lot, I believe. So things are doable, just on the conceptual looking at. It would be a longer station, deeper. That is a good location. Part of, and the other two commissioners, please step in if I'm to disagree. The cost of the property is something that we'd have to put forward because we have seen that in the past. Utilities are already there. That's a benefit because these are some of the things have upset the process in the past. Manville was bringing utilities. There's a lot of money going in there. There is some problems having two stations, but that's operational. There's upfront money on that because now you have duality of clean rooms, duality of exhaust, a lot of dualities. Operational from the chief side of thing is trying to get training for everyone, or now you have two people responding from the station with an engine from one side, two people responding with an ambulance from the other side. A significant call, now you have three people going to the hospital and you have one person back here. We do have administrator that can help out with that, or mutual aid is actual. So there are pros and cons to two stations. Definitely more towards the center of town. You will have quicker response to where the stuff is happening more when we don't have the call company available. There's pros and cons to the whole thing, but the sooner it's done, the better it's done. I mean, if each year you put off the increase, it's, I don't remember, like 10% increase each year with what you're building with. It's just going to keep going up. So we definitely need to kind of be, the station committee right now is still working on that. They're working on the proposals. They're going to get with the companies, where they build, how they build. That's the conceptual stuff once a company is selected, which I think will probably be around October, November. And at that point is where you can spell things out. But to try and pay a general contractor, design us for Park Street, but oh yes, design for Park, and that really upsets balances and focus and things like that. So it has to be a real strong commitment one way or the other. to try and make that happen, because if you go, you have experienced yourselves, if you go to the committee without a strong plan, or go to the people without a strong plan, we're gonna be back here 3 or 4 years, and we just can't.
Right.
We're probably at the closest we've been to a station right now, redo over the last couple of years. It's pretty shocking that we're actually on the cusp of it. So now trying to throw a whole change into it. Yes, if it's feasible, we gotta figure out if it's feasible and if it's a strong locked-in feasible, like real fast, rather than go into March, well, we're gonna be doing this, and oh, we just changed our plans again to do this. It's just gonna make us
Right.
sink the project. I don't care how we look, how I look as a face. I just want the project done and done right.
There's only, Jeannie, correct me if I'm wrong, on the water end of it, on the 132 ball field, if they tie into the water up there, that's where they get into trouble with the fee. Remember the,
Yeah, we're not shocked by any of that stuff. We can handle those troubles. We'll add it on to
oh
our
no,
problems.
this is not it's a, we tied in with people that on the matrix that had already paid, where we tied in with the, on the police station. One up is connected with
Business Park Drive.
Business Park Drive, and they're not finished paying on the matrix. You would have to pay them who pays this, who pays this, who pays this, and it was an exorbitant amount of money,
We had to do that too.
but not as much as Business Park Drive.
So this is something
Exorbitant.
that we would have to look into as well as
That's right.
part of the
That's kind of why I'm bringing it
feasibilities,
up.
pros and cons. And so whatever the police department learned from that, hopefully we'd be able to reach out to the town of Tilton and see
Right.
what you had with that, just because that is a known potential to add
So-
to the thought
Right,
process.
the difference of one cut-in was a major, lots of money
Mhm.
difference.
We know that pretty much
There's a
anything.
fire hydrant that's a cutoff, and you guys tied in before that last
Right.
fire hydrant. After
Right.
that fire hydrant, there's new pipeline that goes up to Business Park Drive, and that's a
And-
different matrix according to.
So as long as we're before the hydrant, we
Yep.
would be on the old.
Yeah, it depends upon where you cut in and
Yep.
what would be allowed by the
Yep.
water district and stuff
Right.
like that as well.
And nobody
mind
else-
you that it is this would be a sprinkler building, so it's
Yes.
actually
Two lines.
two lines coming
Correct, right, like ours is a
in.
sprinkler.
Yeah, so we'd have like a regular residential line, or
Mhm.
1-inch line, and then
Right.
we'd need a 4-inch line for the sprinkler, 4-inch line for the sprinkler system.
Right. So we just missed that cutoff. So that's something to look into, because that was extremely cost effective to us.
Horseshoe around the other side and come back.
Or tie in the back to us.
Or there might be, I mean,
There may be ways of doing it.
I think there is.
Yeah, these are all factors that we can look at when, I mean, the other part of this, unfortunately, that is a difficult, is you're dealing with a district and a municipality. So to tie in off of a municipality pipeline, now you have a district, which is a separate entity tying off of it, where that creates,
Would have to be separately needed.
right,
That's all.
yeah, there's just little things like that, whereas if the municipality owned the buyer and that, there's so much more you can do, and we understand that with two different entities. It's just, that's part of the nightmare of the property, is it a lease, is it a sell to the district, figuring that out and keeping that separation of powers to keep the taxpayers happy that it's, the wall is not connected. There's a separation.
Yeah,
Mr. Pyro.
I have 3 questions / statements. So I don't know who to say who is what. So can we do I think we need to look at, can we do a land swap? I think that's question number 1. We need to see if that can be answered and what we can do. Number 2.
if we want to.
Well, right, I'm just, but I think it's a question that before you can go to step 2 and 3, if you're not interested in doing a land swap, it may not be feasible for the district. was there anything legally binding the town to keep it a field at the thing? Because I
No.
believe it was a warrant article.
No,
And the reason why I say that is because I've had residents of the town of Tilton approach me saying that they will not support any type of building for the fire district unless it includes something in the town of Tilton. And they then say in their second statement, the land next to the police department would be ideal in their mind.
there were promises made, but there was anything that tied us to a signed, sealed, and delivered. There were promises. And I think for transparency purposes and we've always tried to live up to our promises and go back and say, okay, we made this promise, but this is what has come up. We need to figure this out. We now feel that this is in the best interest of the town. What do you all think? Put it on the ballot, put it on the warrant, and there you go. But it was promises. There was nothing solidified.
Right, but the promise was a football field, and it's
Well,
shown that a football field
It
won't
was
show.
promises of a football field. If a football field couldn't have made it, there were Parks was gonna do something on one end.
So
As I know.
tying into that a little bit, it would be, can the station committee explore, I know initially the station committee had to see if an addition would fit onto the Park Street station. So just not saying, the sofa goes here, this type of thing, but okay, if you build a main station and then a substation over there, and I don't know how many square feet, so just say, would a 5,000 square foot building fit there with the parking needs and whatnot? Would that work?
A substation wouldn't be any larger than about 7,000 square.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying, so would that fit in that space and still allow the possibility of maybe putting some elements of a park in there, where, maybe it's a basketball court or something, just something that, people can use and, just look at those options for that to help, because I think that you have to show, all right, this is what we've worked out, but without answering question 1, questions 2 and 3 don't matter. So, and I don't know, because because I'm speaking for one, I don't think that, I think a land swap would work, but I don't know how that works. I don't, because again, you're talking with a municipality and a district, 2 different things, but, I don't know how to put this, would the residents of Tilton want to pay for that land twice?
I understand.
So, because everything's was a 66-34 split or 66-30, I don't know, whatever it is. It's a 2/3, 1/3 split, so.
But wouldn't a lease be optional too?
You can do a 100-year lease for $1 a year. I don't know.
That's something to work out. You didn't mention lease, so.
Yeah, lease is an option. It's just the details of it, and obviously the overhead costs. Buying a land, it's one thing, you're paying for that cost up front. A lease, you're just paying for that cost over a long time period, depending on what it's established at. That is options on the table, because then it's a separation of powers, essentially, that's the main thing that has to come out of this.
Right.
So,
Exactly, right.
Let's move forward on looking into this. I think it's really a good idea. You said we keep waiting.
mhm.
These things just disappear and they get more and more expensive. 10% being very
We
conservative.
gotta make a decision. I'm not saying right now, but we gotta,
You have to commit.
John, as Commissioner Silly said, we're at a good time where we've kind of built some forward momentum here, and
But we haven't gotten too far.
no,
And
but
that's the whole thing, is we're before the designing process. Right now, we're just trying to find the right contractor. The designing of the scheme, not the final design, but the design to sell to the public is the next step. And
Conceptual design.
thank you, that's the term. Yeah.
You're gonna go with the same person that you had before?
That's what we're doing an RFQ, RFP for right now, to hire, I think we're going with the design build process, which means you hire a contractor, that contractor hires an architect, and that's who you use, but we have to agree to who they're hiring, basically. If we don't like the architect, we won't hire you. So we've just developed a process where we're doing the grading process for when the submittals come in.
Yeah.
Right now, it's all in legal right now, letting the lawyers figure out the proper language for everything.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a few weeks.
I just say one thing.
Absolutely.
We've gone through 2 pieces of land that we've spent taxpayers' money.
Yeah.
I'm really hurt because we've done that. We spent money and we got nothing to show for it.
Right.
We've come this far where we are now. And here we are, we're going to start switching again, which could add to the cost. And I believe at one time the chief told me we cannot have 2 stations, we'd have to hire more men. And if you talk to the guys, I believe a lot of them said they would not like 3 here and 2 over here, or vice versa. It just doesn't work like that. And I believe the chief said that one time. I'm a firm believer, a station, it has to be 1 station. Where it is, you know, Belmont, look at Belmont, where their station is. The amount of calls in Belmont are on Route 3. There are more calls on Route 3 than any other place in Belmont. And look how far they are away. I work right on Route 3. There's calls there every day. I mean, so yeah, it's a little distance between the 2, but you take what, and it cost is the big thing. Maybe the cost wouldn't be that bad, but to keep switching back and forth is not the answer. People just aren't going to accept it. I wouldn't.
I think as a resident right now, we have options right now where we can put our fire station. Belmont's kind of stuck with where they are. We're starting almost from scratch, where we do have 1 fire station that's going to stay no matter what, it appears. And we have the option of picking where we're going to put that other one and looking at the data of where our calls are and stuff like that, and choosing a location that would be suitable for improved response times to those areas. It's not like everything's set in stone right now. I think this is a great opportunity for the fire district and the town of Tilton to work together and providing a better service to the residents of the fire district. And it wouldn't just improve the response times to just residents in Tilton. All the residents in Northville that live off of Shaker Road in that area, 140 area, would see a much improved time of what they're getting right now as well.
Selectman Constantino.
Paul, I got a question, and I really don't know the answer to this. Back in your day, what happened when there was Lockmere up there? I mean, the substation.
Winnisquam?
Winnisquam,
Yeah.
okay, Winnisquam. What happened when there was Winnisquam up there and then there was Center Street down here? Wasn't there 2 stations? I mean, wasn't that the same thing? A Park Street, Winnisquam, Center Street and
Well, there was one
Winnisquam?
station.
Well,
Yeah, but Winnisquam.
how did they split?
Winnisquam, it was part of Belmont, Samerton, and Tilton Northfield.
They were their own fire
They
district,
were their own fire district.
So we didn't send any men up there?
not full-time people. You would do call company, or you would do mutual aid response to it. But they did totally volunteer at their own personnel.
And they covered Samerton, Belmont, and Tilton.
But we had Center Street and Park.
Yeah, I mean, it was volunteer back then.
So it was all volunteer,
Yeah.
but you still split the group though, right? Or no?
No.
They all stayed in one building?
Well, they were, you responded from your house. So it weren't like we stayed there overnight.
Okay, I got it.
Right, now that we've gone more to a combination department where you have full-time people there as well as calls. So part of the resource, if you had 2 stations, the breakdown of that, you would have probably 2 people in each station. So once again, you're responding with minimal personnel on a apparatus. An advantage of 1 station is now you have a all in one spot and your equipment's all in one spot. The downside right now that we have is the ambulance goes out. If there's anyone staying back, they have to go over and get the other ambulance to bring it over if it's gonna be a long call. So now that's some of the downside you have that. If you have two stations, where do they keep their gear? Do all the full timers keep all their gear in one station and then morning have to go over and get that to bring it over to the other one? Because now they're covering a shift. So normally they would be in this station and this station. Someone's out over here, so someone from the other shift is now covering over here. These are just a lot of operational nightmares that go into the two stations. There's a lot. It's workable. There's workarounds of everything. So there's pros and cons to everything. If you could get space enough to squeeze the whole department in there at the primary station,
I would never go over.
Oh,
I can tell you that.
Having been on a
Right, Paul?
Scott.
I don't think it,
fire
No, I don't either.
station committee. Oh, sorry.
Selectman Constantine, Selectman Scanlon, sorry.
So when it comes to costs and doing it over and over and over again, we know that real well, because you've seen it at the police station. And we had many different things, and then we found the sweet spot where we could get it and the deal works. This sounds like we might have found the sweet spot here where the deal could work and we could get it done. But the key thing that actually got it through was the committee that was made up of the residents. So when you talk about making, partnership and working with the town of Tilton to respond to the residents, it's working with the residents, getting them involved in it, that allowed us to get our police station done. If it wasn't for the members on the committee, yeah, and all of them. And yeah, there was a lot of, well, we don't like this, we don't want that. Well, what do you want? What can we do? And that's the key to getting it through is, working with the residents, make a committee, get them all involved, even the ones that are naysayers. And say, well, what can you do? Because that's what we gotta do. We gotta work to serve the residents' needs. And we all know something's gotta be done. And have the meetings in the old one.
Unfortunately, we can't because it's non-ADA compliant.
at all. We'd have to have them come to the bay door. She can't even get to the personnel door.
So we'd like to have them here, but we can't.
You're ADA compliant.
Yeah, we have an elevator here, there's no.
All the engines out, have them in there. We can't go upstairs because this is what we're dealing with. But yeah, that was the big thing. And yeah, Patty, you probably know how much we spent on that. It was,
Oh, we were in excess of
$100,000.
$350,000 just in plans and,
Mhm.
never mind, just in plans, architects.
so this might be the time because we never,
We have
all
drawers
the fire
over.
station stuff, we've never really had that one spot that kind of really fit good to everything. And when we went forward with the police station, we thought about the life safety and all that and combining it. But the problem was is that we didn't want to stop our police station because Northfield didn't want to go and do it. But now we have extra space there. We can bring it to the town meeting. And show, I'm sure there's a little bit of room for other things too. But yeah, that's the thing is involving the residents is difficult as it will be. It's key to it.
I still think one station has to be one station.
Correct.
Now, if that's a great spot up there and there's enough room, that's great. But if it's not one station, the whole thing nothing's gonna go.
What do you mean, not have two stations, just have one station?
One main station
Agreed.
where everybody is. It's like, all the full timers are down here. They're not down in Park Street, they're over here. So if we start splitting them up, some down there, some up there, they're just not gonna do it. And I believe you told me once that when you start splitting them up like that, you need to hire more people.
It's better, definitely better with more
Right.
people.
Yeah.
And as our call volume keeps increasing, that's gonna have to be an eventuality at any rate. And when I talked to you about that is when we only had 3 people on duty, which would be, you can't split 3 people up with 2 and 1 and stuff like that. But we have 4, so theoretically, we could do 2 and 2. Not ideal
Correct.
for the firefighters. it'd be much more ideal for the residents though, in response times. Especially where 65 to 70% of our calls are EMS in nature. And a lot of those calls can be handled by 2 people without additional help, you know. But we do have a fair amount of calls where we need more than 2 people on that call. And that's where hiring either additional help or during the day with the deputy and myself are around, we're able to go to those calls and get and help out with those things, especially during the day. The call people are volunteers, but they get paid per call. They're at their regular jobs during the day, so they're not around during the daytime period. It's you know, when you get around dinner times when they start being able to go to calls and things like that. So there's a lot to consider, and but I think if you want to take a step back and look at the 30,000-foot view, a two fire station solution is what this community, this fire district has always had with Center Street and Park Street. Just moving Center Street's facilities to, you know, Sanborn Road, it just improves your response times, and it could be still the same model of what we have going on right now. Another thing to consider is where do most of our call firefighters live? And most of them live right over here in Northfield. So it wouldn't behoove us really to get rid of the Park Street Fire Station. It would behoove us to make sure that the equipment there is still available for our call folks to respond to. But overall, I'm predicting our call volumes going up 300 calls this year compared to what we've done so far. And if it keeps continuing like that, you're going to have to add more personnel at some point. And it will make it easier for us to serve the community and give the residents the service they deserve.
Mr. Selleck.
So there's mixed feelings on some of what you're hearing, absolutely, because I'm more in line with one station. One of the things I did hear from your committee that I just need to clarify is no headquarters in Tilton.
What committee?
Well, I'm sorry, from your legislative body here. So I heard a rumor, no headquarters in Tilton, which could squash some thoughts on this. So I just wanted to clarify that. I just heard someone was a little concerned about headquarters in one station being in
This
Tilton.
sounds to
So
me like the town of Tilton is approaching the fire district with a deal. Quite frankly, we're willing to discuss a committed plan to paper if that's what you want to do. I personally am not trying to broker any deals or anything like that.
no, I thought you had just said that, and that's what I was trying to get a pulse of the town is that if the town would be against the one station headquarters and all on that property, if it was to squeeze in and fit. I mean,
I won't speak for the board, but I know personally, it's just however you guys decide to manage
Okay.
the district is how you decide.
All right.
to manage it.
Whatever you think you can get the residents to vote for.
okay,
Selectman Constantino.
I just want to say something. It doesn't really, it has absolutely nothing to do with the field of the thing. Because if you folks think that that's a viable solution and you come up with a plan, that's fine. But if the commissioners can't agree, how can you go to the annual meeting and expect the residents to agree? And this has been the problem for the last 5 or 6 years. If you, the commissioners, can't agree with the chief and what his future or foreseeable plan is, then how are you going to all come together with a plan to bring to both Tilton and Northfield and say, this is what we need? It's not going to work. No matter, I don't care if you have the Taj Mahal that is paid for. It doesn't matter. If you don't agree, you can't sell it. And that's a huge factor in you know, and I don't want to be the devil's advocate here, but that is going to happen. you need all to be on the same page. You need to sit and meet and say, what's in the best interest of the district? If this is in the best interest, now that you know that this might be a viable solution for you, sit down, meet the commissioners and the chief and come up with the plan and then go forward with it. Then meet with us and say, you know, this is what we think is gonna be. Come together with it.
I don't think it's I know you're probably looking at me more than anybody.
No, I'm not. I'm looking at John, not Brian, and it's not just you, Paul.
Because
I happen to like your ideas.
we all agreed at one time, right over here in Tilton, to build a station there.
Mhm.
It was the cost. That was the big thing.
Yeah.
So it weren't a matter in Tilton or Northfield or what.
Right,
It was the ideal spot.
Mhm.
We all agreed on it.
right.
So
No, we didn't
So-
all agree. When it came to the district meeting, a significant amount of people
He's
didn't
just
agree.
talking about.
well, I'm talking about the
He's
commission.
just talking
The
about.
commissioners all agreed that was an ideal
Yeah.
spot.
Right, and you did do that, but you need to do that again and come up with that again and say, okay, if Tilton is a viable solution, then okay, let's see if that is. Then go to the committee and say, well, we have an idea, but this is what we want. Stick to your plan. This is what we want,
Well-
and stick together.
Right now, the plan is to build a single station on Park Street that will house all of our equipment, all of it, without duplicative maintenance and a lot of other equipment. So that is our plan. This kind was brought to us late in the game because 2 years ago, we actually were going to come and talk to the meeting and we were told not to come. So if we do stick with our one plan, I think the commissioners would agree and sell Park Street as one station, because now we're getting the call force and the full-time force working together. The operational side of things for us would dramatically go down. So there's a lot we are looking at. This was something that was just tossed out on the table a couple months ago. So that's why we came here to look at viable options and things like that.
I just want to correct one thing. You were not told not to come. We said to the commissioners, we were not willing to open discussion until after town meeting, until our police station passed, and then we would gladly entertain anybody coming and talking about, am I right, Jean? And then talking about it. So we did not say anything about shutting any doors whatsoever on anybody. Right?
The timing was.
The timing, we
Timing wasn't right.
didn't want anything to sabotage whatsoever or hurt the proposal that we had on the table for the police department. And thank God we did it that way, because now we have the police department and another piece of land to negotiate with. So here we are. But so, it's on the table. You've heard from the five of us that it is a viable solution. There are some kinks that we would need to work out. You've heard from us that this is what we would like to do, we would like to see. We just want to know what your plan is, and we've heard 3 different plans already tonight, so,
I think everything's on the table.
okay. So, once you get it, we're willing to listen, because I think it's a viable solution for Tilton.
I think the cost is the biggest thing too.
Yeah,
I mean, we talking build a station for 5 million or building someplace else and have to spend 8 million.
mhm,
And the 8 million ain't gonna go.
right,
I mean, I don't think the 5 will, but
right.
that's what it's gonna
Let's
cost.
say, I
more
don't think the
likely.
five's gonna go either.
It's a tough atmosphere, as you all know, economically right now. I don't think it's going to get much better.
Right.
But I'm preaching to the choir. I think you know that when you present something like this to the voting public, it's numbers matter. Talking about response times, that. I think the more information you can put out there to the naysayers, the better, the easier a pill it is to swallow or tuck under their
Yep.
tongue. So, it's just on the surface. I mean, I personally, and I think we like the idea, and there. And obviously, there's a ton of semantics to figure out. But, to be able to get better response time, just to be able to have the fire department know that it's going to be there, and be able to get to the majority of calls that occur in this municipality a little bit faster would be wonderful, in my opinion. Anything else from the board? Gentlemen? I'm good.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Forward to hearing from you.
Oh, you got the tape recorder, dude.
Recording for ours because we had it published with the three commissioners here as a forum.
She trusted you.
Someone had to get it over here, so I had to run over to the station and get it. Because otherwise she would have to be begging minutes from you to be able to put our minutes.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Have a nice day.
Yep, have fun.
Oh, we plan on.
And thank you for your time, everyone.
Thanks, John.
The time being 5:35, I make a motion to enter into non-public session per RSA 91A32A, the dismissal, promotion, or compensation of any public employee, or the disciplining of such employee, or the investigation of any charges against him or her, unless the employee affected, one, has a right to a public meeting, and two, requests that the meeting be open, in which case the request shall be granted.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call vote.
Constantino, yes?
Yes, yes.
Ruggles, yes.
Ira, yes.
And Scanlon, yes.
This conference will now be recorded.
Do we seal it?
Hmm?
Do we seal it? Do we seal it?
Hold on. Yes, it's working.
Steal
Seal it.
I make,
Yes.
I make a motion to seal the minutes of the non-public session of July 21st, 2022, because disclosure would adversely affect the reputation of a person other than a member of the board.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion passes. The board would like to announce the hiring of Abraham Gilman as the new police chief in the town of Tilton. His swearing-in ceremony will take place August 3rd at the Tilton Police Department at 5:30 p.m. Next on the agenda is the discussion about the Laconia Road Cemetery. Selectman Scanlon.
So I think I gave everybody, or I know I did, a copy of the RSA. Everybody get to read that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So this actually, and what I've been trying to explain is, we get two different things here. The land use and the zoning part is not the concern. The concern is the damages that have been done to the graves, to the monuments, to the markers. And those are against RSA 6, I don't know what number it is?
35.
635:6. And it clearly, it states in there, the governing board of municipality in which the burial plot lies shall not grant approval or order the removal or disturbance of a tomb, monument, gravestone, marker, or plot delineator without giving first 30-day notice along with the report of the full circumstances to the Division of Historical Resources that such approval has been requested. So we have to maintain all that. So ultimately, all these things have been done to it. They put generators on it, they dug it up, they removed stones. I don't know where they are. They moved the boundary markers. We've got photographs, we have everything else for it. But ultimately, the problem is that there's been no plan for anybody to be responsible to undo all that's been done wrong. That's what we have to do. This is not a misdemeanor. This is a Class B felony, okay, which means jail time for somebody convicted of. So we have to act to protect the graves of that. The Philbrick family, I did a bunch of research. There are relatives that are still alive, or living descendants, I should say. And the genealogy was just updated in April by a Margaret Lee Carroll. And so there's a big following, and there's local. So there was no deed, or nobody got in touch with the next of kin to get permission to do anything to this grave or do that. So it's up to us to go and get this corrected and get these graves cared for properly, and to enforce the law if necessary, or whatever it takes. But they need to go, you need to stop it from continuing, and they need to go and do it according to paragraph 2 of 635-6. There's lots of pictures here, and you can see, like in this picture, that's a gravestone, a footstone from a grave that's been dug up, displaced all here. It's in a pile of dirt. It's unearthed. It's right there. The marker is over here, okay, for the grave, and then the other marker, okay, and there's not just 2 graves. There's 3 visible stones. You can see them all in this picture. So that information was not given properly. It's another, I think that's the stone, but there are other stones that look like it that were there in pieces. And if you look, this is what's there now. You could see in there, all that was all down through here. Now they've actually moved the size of the graveyard and made it smaller. So, but the zoning thing, that's our deal. We deal with that. But changing that, changing the markings, moving them, defacing graves, moving all the posts, the surveys, and tampering with the stones, that's a criminal offense. As you can see by this picture now, okay, now here's the house here. It's moved back even further. It's further back, and you got a generator in there. That's a gas line dug through the grave where this stone was before. We know about this and nothing's happening. We are responsible. We have to make sure that these graves are done by law and restored properly. And it's not going to just go away, because this is a criminal act. It's not a misdemeanor. You can see here, this one, you look at that, there's the piece that was cut off. The cutting was fresh, okay? You know why that was cut off? So they could open the door to the porta potty that was put in the graveyard. Nobody in their right mind would say, it's okay. This fellow here, I looked up the research on the Philbricks and what they did. There was one of the Philbricks, and I think that's who this stone is. I was doing some more research. That was part of the San Martin Regiment that marched all the way to Portsmouth to defend our country. And we're doing this to his grave? This is shameful. We need to stop what's going on, and we need to restore it. Here's another picture I would think. Now, if you look here, this is another corner marker. Everybody has these pictures. You can see there's the house there. That's one of the corner markers. There were 4 of them. One's pulled up that was over by the house. This is the other one that was cut off. Okay. So it clearly shows the graveyard being infringed on. So I'm asking everybody what we're going to do about this crime. And how are we going to go and do what's right, do the right thing for those graves and the burial of those people? Here's the history. Benjamin, he married Abigail Brown of New Hampton, 1794, she being 24. He's still there now where H.Q. Dalton lives, near the bay. That's right where that house is. He was the deacon of the Congregational Church from 1811 till April 3rd, 1837. Of his sterling qualities and remarkable efficiency and fidelity as a church member and officer in centennial proceedings and testimony of Dr. Bodwell, he was a great man of physical force. He was a devoted Christian, many times spending the night in prayer. He was born and brought up near the seacoast and lived beside the bay. He retained his fondness for a boat and fishing line and was narrowly escaped from drowning at the age of 85 when his boat was upset and he swam quite a distance to reach the shore. He fell oft times into the fire and oft into the water. But this is one of our founding fathers of this town that defended this country. And there's other people there, children. I don't understand why it's taken this long to discuss this and to come to some type of conclusion what we're going to do.
Mr. Jessamine.
That's my question. We don't send the police out to take them away in handcuffs. There's got to be a procedure and there has to be spelled out in law somewhere that we either sue them in court or the attorney general gets involved. It's like, I support this, but I have no clue. Sending the cops is not the way to go here. I think we need a lawyer and we need to take them to court to get them to do the right thing.
I don't think we have anybody that, one person in general, I think it's a whole thing. But I think it is a police thing. How can you charge somebody with a crime out there? But
I think in talking with the people in New Hampshire Cemetery Association and New Hampshire Graveyard Association for the state, they referred us to Department of Justice, and then talking with a person in Department of Justice who overlaps with the same New Hampshire Graveyard Association, and they're on kind of the same thing. Said we need to file with a complaint with the Department of Justice.
So we need a lawyer.
And then they will take it from there.
I got a response from the Department of Justice, and they said that the police department should be enforcing it first. And if they don't enforce it, then the Department of Justice would take over.
What exactly are they going to force them to do?
Enforce the law.
Enforce the law is what?
Well, they have generators on top of a cemetery. They dug up and unearthed footstones, which is against the law, which is a felony, almost like a year in jail. You can't do that. And now they're encroaching on some of the cables that you see in the generators, not only the generators, but they also have an air conditioned compressor with a cement footing there, which some of the cabling is going from one place to another. I have no idea where it's going in the picture, but it goes in the cemetery. So they've had to dig into the cemetery to get one place to another. That is a criminal.
What do they do? Take them to county jail?
Well,
I
our,
want to
our
know.
police.
If that's it, let's do it.
Our police enforce the RSAs.
Mhm.
This very clearly states in the RSA that they can't do this. It's against the law to do it. Period.
So they bring them to county jail.
There's one for everybody. Oh,
If that's
So if
the
you-
way it goes, that's the way it
If you
goes.
look at paragraph 1A,
Right here, purposely or knowingly destroy, mutilate, injure, or remove any tomb, monument, gravestone, marker, or any other structure, or any portion or fragment thereof, placed or designed for a memorial of the dead, or any fence, railing, gate, curb, or plot delineator, or any other enclosure for the burial of the dead.
So we
All right.
arrest them and charge them with this and then bring them to court or give them a bail and set a court date. So,
or whatever they do, make deals or pleas, and then he, or whoever it is, or multiple parties that are responsible, will file the proper things and restore the graveyard properly.
However,
And that's what we really want. I don't want anybody to go to jail. I want to
oh,
undo
no, I
them.
get that, but we got to start somewhere.
but wait a minute, so, however, in Jeannie's report that she sent to us, the attorney's letter, she clearly said that she sent out the code enforcement to cease and desist and move the generator. Am I correct in saying that, or do I have to look it up?
I don't think
Yeah,
it's-
no, the generator, both generators, my understanding, are now not on the cemetery.
But the air conditioned compressor is.
There's nothing on the cemeteries, on the cemetery at this point. There's nothing, no structure on the cemetery as defined by, they had a boundary survey done by Benchmark. I think Leanne sent that to you.
It's here.
No, I don't have it.
She sent, well, I sent it, I guess. She sent it to me and I sent it to you. It was a land use report.
I didn't get-
I didn't get it.
Did no one get it?
I don't recall seeing anything like
when did
that.
you send it? I saw
Doesn't
something.
mean you didn't.
When did you send it, Jeannie?
They have to look now. I thought it was a couple days ago.
Was it in your TA report?
Yeah, it was a bunch of
There's something
attachments.
here from land use.
Yeah, that's a problem.
Well, they obviously
There's a-
violated this law.
Yeah, there it is, right there.
What is
That's why I
it?
sent it to you all.
Yeah, it was in the bottom attachment as in her travel agent. Sorry, wrong business. Town administrator report. It was the bottom attachment, which contained the land use report. And at the
Right.
bottom of that was this.
So they
It's
had a
just turning on,
boundary
so,
survey
sorry.
done by Benchmark, was the name of the company that did it, that showed the boundaries of the cemetery and shows that the generators are no longer sitting on, the one was never sitting on the cemetery, the other one, they told them they have to move it back around to, farther than they needed to, just to keep it 25 feet away.
And they were, correct me if I'm wrong, I was speaking with Leanne about it, that they were holding their certificate of occupancy.
Until everything.
Until everything complies with what they asked for. Yeah, so there's, I still don't believe they've issued a CO yet. I don't believe they have.
So where is the air compressor then?
But I think
They haven't-
regardless, we still have damages that have to be done. Yeah, so they've done, and we should have the 30-day report because they're supposed to be filing.
So this report that I had sent to you says on July 14th, the office received confirmation that the contractor verified the cemetery boundaries prepared by Benchmark Engineering and submitted the plan attached. The contractor relocated the generators as indicated outside the cemetery boundaries. There are no gas lines within the cemetery boundaries. Based on this information, the permits are to be submitted for approval by the building inspector, and the COs will be issued upon satisfactory completion of work. Mr. Abakoff is agreeable to any transfer or maintenance of the cemetery proposed by the select board. He's also willing to meet with the board at their convenience to discuss options. He stated he's willing to clear the brush and construct a fence with a gate to preserve the area, or is willing to turn over the maintenance to the town. His only concern is public access to his property.
So if we look at the law and it says a full report of the full circumstances and to the Division of Historical Resources, and such approval has been requested. So before you can do anything to a cemetery or change, replace boundaries or remove boundaries or put stones back in, you have to go and send it to the Historical Resources.
So my understanding was that this cemetery has been greatly overgrown and is in fact overgrown again. You can't see it because there's weeds and everything there now. But when they took down the tree, when they went onto the property, because everything was overgrown, they took down the tree, and that's when they discovered the stones, whether the
tree was taken down years ago.
I don't know. I'm just,
And it's-
Mr.
whenever,
Walker took that down.
whenever, I don't know.
Mhm.
But when I talked to John Radigan about it, he said that, that you would need to prove who did it, you'd need to witness it, and that the step for the board would be to take it to Superior Court, and it would cost probably between $5,000 and $7,000. And if you had to take depositions, you might add another $1,000 or $2,000. So that sounds like a different avenue than what you're
Right.
talking about.
Well,
So hold on one second, John. Even just in your plan that you just sent us out, that they surveyed the cemetery
Mhm.
and moved the generators, it looks like they've moved 2 generators, one near the blue house, which is not 25 feet away from the cemetery. That can't even be 18 inches away from the cemetery.
The house?
Right.
Well,
No, the generator.
So
So if you look at this right here,
here's the bigger plan.
okay, so there's one generator,
Here's the
right?
cemetery right here.
Okay, so
That
that one,
one is being moved over here.
where does it say that?
Well, it doesn't say that. Leanne
Okay.
told me that they're moving it over here. It doesn't say that. That was what they were told they had to do, was move it over here in order to
Okay,
get their C of O.
and where does this one go?
That isn't anything. That's that. There are 2 generators. There's this one and this one. This is nothing.
That's the air conditioned that's on a cement block.
I
Look at right here.
see, it's poured cement.
It's poured cement.
That's right where the footstone.
Well, if that is there, then it needs to be moved.
So this is a criminal thing, so the police should go after it. We have a prosecutor for the police, or the county prosecutor will handle it. We don't have to go and enter and file things in court.
Those are the 2 generators, right?
And that's what the Attorney General's office said, and they said if they won't do it, to get back in touch with them.
And that's the air compressor.
Go after the, for,
The yellow
Um,
house. See on the cement can?
Well, our lawyer says to file suit. Is that correct?
I'm telling you right now, this. is
Our lawyer said to file suit. Is that correct?
Right, air conditioner.
Hearsay.
Air compressor, right? Air
Well,
conditioner
it came
on
from
a
our
cement
lawyer.
thing.
Right, and that's.
No, it came through
Well, then
other
You have one
information
air
that was
compressor
portrayed to you
and
from,
another-
it didn't come from
a
our lawyer.
generator and then.
I-
He
this is
just
a-
said it did.
You know what I
Joe,
mean?
this is a criminal thing
I
that
understand
the
that.
police should be going after. Not the town, the police should be going after this. It's a crime, we should investigate it and do it. And we have a prosecutor for it and do that. They can make whatever decisions they want. But that's,
it's still wrong, no matter which way you look at it. No matter which way you look at it, whether the police go in and do it, what they're doing is wrong and against the law. We've been saying this for 12 weeks now.
So what, please correct me, if I'm wrong, what we would like to have done is to have restoration of this cemetery, and maintenance of this, probably maintenance of the cemetery going forward, right? Restoration of the cemetery, understanding that it needs to be done correctly, things need to be restored. The landowner should be doing that because it was his decisions that caused it to be changed. And going forward, if I'm not mistaken, I know we talked about it before, the potential of the town being able to be given right of way probably a couple times a month during spring, summer, and fall to be able to maintain it properly.
There would have to be a right of way for people wanting to visit the grave.
They're not gonna.
He won't give the public right away.
I don't think that I don't think the town needs to take ownership of this. Well, they need to do the right thing in doing this. We don't need to take ownership of this. That's not what we're after. They committed this wrongdoing in not, probably because uneducated. But
So it wasn't, so to your point then, because that's what John Radigan said, you have to prove that it was malicious and deliberate.
correct, and it's probably uneducated. However, we need to have, number one, we need to figure out where that footstone ended up because it was unearthed. Did they put it back where it should have been? Because that's really, it really needs to be there. The boundaries of the cemetery need to be restored. The air conditioning that I just showed you and the 2 generators need to be removed and 25 feet away from that
So
cemetery.
who's gonna do all?
They need to do that. They're the ones that put it there.
Mr. Scanlon?
The law says purposely or knowingly destroy, mutilate, injure, or remove any tomb, monument, gravestone, marker, or other structure, or any portion or fragment thereof, memorial to the dead, any fence, railing, gate, that. Now, purposely or knowingly destroy. If you go and you take down a fence or a gate, or you pull up a tombstone or a grave marker or a railing or a gate, okay? That's what it says.
But to Jeannie's point,
No,
though, John,
if you take a gate out and you cut it off, or you move a gravestone,
but we don't know whether the contractor did it. We don't know the person before them did it. We don't know that they did it. We
Well,
didn't see it. We didn't witness it.
that's up to the police to go and
No.
do a police
But it's-
report and follow from there.
Correct, but
They have to go, you can't just, we can't ad lib this.
well, here becomes the difficulty. The difficulty becomes proving purposely and knowingly. Those 2 words are
Okay.
very, very, now, John, it is upsetting that a headstone, but, okay, let's play devil's advocate with a scenario. They go in, they start to move the earth right near where the cemetery is. We're hoping, okay, that they're trying to abide by the boundaries. If something goes through, they're tilling it, they're raking it, whatever it is, and that headstone was covered by grass and stuff, and it kicks it up, the purposely and knowingly goes out the window. So if what Jeannie had written in there, Mr., I'm gonna butcher his
Radigan.
name. No,
Abercrombie.
Mr.,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
okay, so he has, okay, Mr. Uberkoff has said that he will put fencing up, restore the cemetery, et cetera. Wouldn't, from your statement, we don't want anyone to go to jail, et cetera, wouldn't the first overture be made to go to him and say, we need this restored? We need it to go to the boundaries that are designated, put out, and to be able to put the stones in to the best of the ability as to where we suspect they were. Because do we really know? Do we know what the mapping of the stones was? It's more than likely, with it being a family plot like they've been done historically, they just put them in. So, as a steward of history that I am, that if we want it be maintained and to be respected, then that would be the approach that we would have that would cost us nothing. Right? There'd be nothing there. We're not gonna have to go to court. No one's gonna have to go to jail. We don't have to get our police force, which is already short-manned, personed, that we don't have to have them go. So getting him delineating exactly what we want. If he's not gonna be willing to work with what we're asking for, but it sounds like he is, because he's already put it in there that he'll put it fencing, he'll maintain it, you know, or his people will maintain it, et cetera, to get it back to there. Then we've got our solution. You know, if we give him a deadline when it needs to be done and the deadline's not met, then we've got to take that next action, that more serious action.
The governing body of a municipality in which the burial plot lies shall not grant approval for removal or disturbance of a tomb, monument, gravestone, plaque, to a nominee, yet along without doing first giving a 30-day notice along with the report of the full circumstances. So if we go and tell them, yeah, go do this and that without doing it, now we violate it because we're the municipality that told him to. And he went to ZBA just to have it so many inches away from the graveyard. He testified, sat in his chair, another resident behind him commented on it. ZBA heard that he would not touch or destroy or harm that cemetery in any way, and that he knew it was inches away from that house, but yet he still did it, or somebody did it under his hiring. He said he would protect it. That was a total agreement.
Okay.
So
if you want,
this is a crime.
So are we looking to do something punitive or just get it fixed?
I'm looking to follow the proper procedure of the law that if.
Punitive, okay.
No.
Yes.
that's what you're asking.
No, I'm saying if you see a crime that's being committed, this is supposed to be reported to the police. If they talk to them from there, write a police report up and says, okay, what are you gonna do? And you do that.
If that's the way it works, okey dokey. The guy did wrong. I think our
Someone did.
discussion
Somebody
is
did.
about how we rectify it.
Correct.
But we're not the law enforcement agency. The building inspector should have gone and saw that was going, but I don't think he knew about this law. I don't think anybody knew it was actually against the law. But we do have a felony that's been committed under this thing. So we all know it. It's all right there.
Okay, so let's.
I gotta be honest, Tom, I'm gonna play the legal advocate. We don't know it. And I don't think it would go anywhere in court because of the two words in A and B, purposefully and knowingly. It's just,
Okay.
I know what you're saying. I understand, but you've got to understand, you get into a court of law, are we gonna blow out $7,000 to be told they didn't
What do you
purposely
mean? We
knowingly
have
do
a
it?
prosecutor.
Okay, but
This is a criminal thing. We don't have to hire a lawyer.
so we're
We
gonna,
have
so
a
we're gonna take
prosecutor.
him, so we're gonna take our prosecutor off of case, or have him add to his caseload that's already overloaded that was handed to him. Instead, we could actually work with the landowner in town, have him restore to what we're asking for is restoration. If you want him punished, then we can do it and backlog everything, and we'll do 30 days. We'll tell them that we want to be able to do restoration of the cemetery because that's what it requires here. It's probably going to take that long to be able to get Mr. Rubikov on board and be able to get everything done and talk about what we would like done and how we'd like to have it done. But otherwise, if you want to have Jesse go to court, I'm telling you, purposely and knowingly, how are you going to prove that they purposely and knowingly did it? Because you've got contractors there who go in, they've been told certain parameters. If they think that's the parameters, and then they clip that headstone, not knowing it was under the grass or the brush or whatever it was, we're done. We've wasted our time. We've wasted Jesse's time, all of that stuff. We want it done. I want it to be back to where it should be and what it should be and the parameters that have been outlined by it, and have it look good and honor the family that's there. Or we could go through a much longer process that may not end up in our favor. So if we want to get it back to where it is, then let's work with the landowner to do that, to honor the people that are there and have it be done that way. But if you want to go through and have the police go down there and do all that, fine. Then we'll ask them. But I think it's a waste of resources when we could actually have it rectified, as Joe said, in a way that works with the landowner and gets done what we need to get done. You know, we'll give the 30 days notice of what we're going to do.
File the things properly.
Correct, yeah,
Proper
absolutely.
people and get a complete thing.
Yep.
No more touching that graveyard. It's
Nothing.
over. Nothing.
Is that the route you want to go?
I want to get it taken care of. Whatever the best way that doesn't cost us.
I'd talk to
$7,000.
Jesse and see if he
Can
thinks
you talk
that's
to Jesse tomorrow?
allowable way to go. This has been going on since April, and I've been trying to talk about it, and I told you I didn't want to wait 3 weeks to discuss this, and now we're at week 5.
So I
five,
just
12.
have to say, to be fair, this discussion started back in April. We have been talking about it because I went back and looked almost every single
No.
meeting. We have been talking about this
No.
issue. Can anyone support me on that?
It's come up,
Thank you.
it's come up,
Yes,
I'm gonna say.
But it's been asked to put on the
We've been-
agenda. The only way I could even get anybody to talk about
In
it
all fairness,
was
in all
under
fairness, we've been
selectmen's
shut down
report.
every time we tried to talk about it.
By who?
I've asked to have it on
That's
the
not
agenda.
true. That's not true.
You
First
Oh,
request to
we'll
have
go
it on the
back and
agenda
watch
was
the
the other day.
videos.
Hey. Now it's our fault
Okay.
all of a sudden. Let's take a deep breath. We've
Would you like-
decided what to do. We've decided what to do.
I
Let's see how
know.
that plays out.
I know.
For us to argue amongst ourselves now is not productive. So we have a plan, right?
I'm gonna talk to Jesse tomorrow.
Okay, and see what the process
I think,
is.
I'd like to have Jesse talk to us as Board of Selectmen.
In 2 weeks?
Can talk to him before or
Okay.
come over and address us.
All right.
But I think.
That gives him
this
a
has-
chance to research his
Yeah.
law too.
But I think the guy needs to stop touching anything in that cemetery. Cease and desist. Do not touch a single thing. inside
It's
the
overgrown
bounds of that
again, so
cemetery.
apparently he's not touching it.
There's. it's
And like,
overgrown.
you can't
It's
even see this
overgrown,
stuff. It's
so
overgrown.
Nothing's being
You
touched.
can't see, you can't even
Well,
see
he
this.
certainly put the generator in and took the generator out. We don't know what else. But if you don't go and serve that, and that's what I asked for a long time ago, and those generators never would have been put in there when I originally brought this up back in April.
I think
None of that
I think the
damage
owner of
was
the
done.
property wants a certificate of occupancy. I'm sure he's going to be willing to listen to the town to get that done. Mr. Chairman, can we move on to the selectmen's reports, please?
So I'd like a decision on that. Do we want to get a cease and desist or something to stop him from entering into that cemetery and touching any more within the bounds of that cemetery? That's my motion.
Second,
Motion and a second. Discussion.
I think this will allow time for us to go and get it sorted out and get it done properly and right without anybody entering to that or touching it until we can sort it out.
I think it's already being done. No
so
one
this
touching
is the
it.
legal way.
I thought there was already cease and desist order issued by the code enforcement officer.
No, it
They're
was,
not getting their C of O until everything is back.
but
So
that
we
wasn't a
haven't
cease
seen-
and desist. That was, we
They're
will not give
still-
you a
Who issues this?
certificate of
Who
occupancy.
issues cease and desist? Who does that?
We did it with the Trump sign.
No, we didn't do a cease and desist. I don't think so, did we?
Yeah.
Is that the one you pulled back?
Didn't land use
Okay,
do
you
that?
pulled back.
Yeah, after we
It's
sent
hanging
it,
over the
after we
road.
mailed it out to him. We served the guy with it, and we
Who
just
gave
said
it
we
to
wouldn't
him?
act on it.
Who gave it to him?
It was mailed with
Code-
land use.
Code enforcement.
All right.
Send it.
Then let's have the guy go over and lay the groundwork for this, would be my suggestion. So cease and desist, you're in the cemetery, you've done all this stuff in the cemetery, stop. Stop. That's my suggestion.
Call to question. Question's been called. Those in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed,
Nay.
motion passes. Selectmen's reports. Mr. Jesselman.
The only thing I have on my selectmen's report really is we've done the second concert this summer. We had a nice turnout and beautiful weather. We had the town bus for people with limited mobility. And it was a good concert. There won't be any organized food this coming Sunday, but come on out and bring your drink and bring your sandwich or whatever. And come join us at the concert. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Chessman. Mr. Pyron.
I went on Monday night.
Oh, yeah.
Monday night was Selectman Scanlon, Lieutenant Gilman, and Highway Director Duval. And we looked at questionable streetlights throughout town. And it was interesting, and that should be done in time. I guess there was a timeline on that, but other than that, that's all I have.
Thank you. Mr. Scanlon.
To touch on that, I guess, Eric, I think you have the same consensus that Kevin had a good grip on which one should and shouldn't be there and need to get done. So I can leave it up to Kevin. I think everybody else agrees to sort out those lights. And
If
Abe
you're
agreed with them.
convinced, I'll go with that.
And I think Abe was in agreement. The amazing thing was I think there was a total of 6 by the end of the night. You know, so it had recently blown out anyway. So
There's more than that, but
yeah. And I think that's pretty much it. That's it.
Thank you. Selectman Constantino.
I have a long list, but in the whatever for time. Silver Lake Road, Jeannie, I sent you a note to gather some information on the business that has a driveway. Do they have a driveway permit?
This was in Leanne's report. Complaint was received on July 16th regarding the following: cables were disconnected at 14 Silver Lake Road and left on abutting property. The coax cable was cut when the house at 14 Silver Lake was demolished. The cable was the property of the cable company and was left at the base of the pole for reconnection at a later time. It appears that a new driveway was being installed on Silver Lake Road to access the property of 477 Laconia Road. New paving was installed on the west side of the property and the large trucks were not able to pass. The drivers were crossing the lawn in Silver Lake to park the trucks in the rear of the property. No permanent access was established on Silver Lake Road. The owner has discontinued the use of the temporary access and will loan and seed the area in future with future plans to extend the fence. Sign on Silver Lake Road without permit. The old wooden JA landscaping sign, which was on Laconia Road, has been removed and is laying on a pile of loam on the Silver Lake side of the property being thrown away. A new sign will be placed on Laconia Road and a permit is in place. The house at 14 Silver Lake Road, which was recently purchased and removed by JA Landscaping, was an eyesore and being used as a drug house. JA Landscaping is working to improve the neighborhood and the appearance of the surrounding area.
Great. Okay, so he doesn't have a permit.
But he's closed with it.
But he's closing it up. Well, that does that. And there was I should have asked you this in the public. I'll get in touch with you tomorrow, Jeannie. I'm done.
So I'm last, just a quick reminder, with our summer heat, that the state of New Hampshire does have an RSA about leaving animals in hot cars. It's RSA 644-8AA. And that if you see an animal in a vehicle during the heat, you should report that to the police. But just concerned as the summer heat is here, and I'm all set. Town administrators report.
Okay, so I sent out my weekly report. You've already signed the personnel policies and employee manual. You've signed the Primex Contribution Assurance Program. For discussion decision, the state highway assistance amended project agreement for Caleb Hill Road reconstruction. Want to find out if the board wants to move forward with this or not. It's been, the agreement has been looked at by our attorney. We have had some things changed. I have the agreement here if the board wants to start this project.
I haven't had a chance to read it, I'm sorry, but if the rest of the board decides, I'm fine. I just did not have,
I'd like to move forward with the engineering. That way we'll get a true cost of what this potentially would, it doesn't compel us to get any more deeply involved than that. And it might show the state what it actually costs compared to what they actually offered us.
I agree with Selectman Jessamine going forward with the engineering to find out the true cost would be.
That I have the document from the state that needs to be signed. There's only one signature line.
Make a motion to have the chair sign it.
Second,
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
aye.
Next item is the solid waste contract award. You saw the two submissions, Pinard Waste and Casella. Both Tim and Kevin are recommending going with the Casella contract. And I all got them before, but I resent them and just wanted to look at them again. And we said that we would make that award at this meeting.
I have not had a chance. Sorry.
I'd like to table it. There were some concerns I had with it. The clarification from Casella on which one's this? Oh, yeah, can we table this?
No, that's the DOT thing.
Make a motion to table this issue.
I'll second that, but do we have time to do that? Is this a time sensitive issue? We do this in 2 weeks?
Yeah.
Okay.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Those in favor of the motion to table the solid waste contract issue, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion passes.
Okay, next item, status on the plan, New Hampshire charrette. We have 2 listing sessions and recommendations sessions scheduled for September 23rd and 24th. This is the 3rd time this has been put off. I don't get a strong sense that we're going to have a good turnout for this. I've asked before for assistance to get people to attend this event. The last time around, I think there might have been 3 or 4 people sign up. So my question to the board is, should we just not do this?
Yeah,
Yes,
I
Mr.
think
Skinner.
a lot of the responses from people were, what is a charrette? They don't know. It was on Facebook. I know a couple other people asked, they have no idea what a charrette is. And, I think some suggestions, put some kind of nickname to it or something else, but they have no idea. So they don't know what they're signing up for.
I would be willing to walk into every business on Main Street with a little flyer explaining the process and explaining why it's important, and to ask them personally for their support of this project. It's for the betterment of the downtown, and their participation is going to be key to that. And I don't believe that there's anybody downtown that doesn't want to see downtown prosper. I have to believe that, or they wouldn't put their money and their lives into downtown Tilton. So, I mean, I would be willing to do that.
Maybe a little explanation, in the, on the town website with it.
Yeah, what is a charrette? Why is it important? What's its purpose? What's it gonna do? And I think that it was a great idea, Jeannie, and I'm sorry it's withering, but I would certainly like to work on it and help it go forward.
I think that postponing it would actually be a better idea. The reasons being is I think it would allow the Economic Development Committee to continue to get some momentum, to be able to make the connections like Joe talks about and strengthen those connections. I also think that our work with the island would be further along, and it would provide a little bit more complete picture that we would want, or the charrette would provide a little bit more complete picture if we are able to get momentum on both of those moving forward a little bit more.
I agree with you.
What do you think, Jeannie? You've been driving the bus here.
Yeah, I think we should postpone it.
I don't want to cancel it. I just postpone it, and that was the impression I got at first from you, is that you wanted to overall cancel it, but I think it's to happen, but let's get some momentum going with economic development.
Well, when the time comes, I'm more than willing to do whatever I can to help promote attendance.
So are we postponing?
Consensus.
That would be the consensus, I think.
In response to a social media post regarding line painting in front of his business, Alan Powell brought in a check for $500, $100 for each line painted. Do you want to accept the check?
Do we want to?
Mr. Chairman.
Like an agreement.
There's not, they haven't found one. There's been no agreement found. I asked them to look for it. They've not found an agreement.
There's an agreement.
It's not, then we're opening up a Pandora's box,
Well,
because
yeah.
then we'll have to have agreements all up and down Main Street.
Well, I was here for the first agreement. Or the second, I don't know, but the agreement. John's got his.
Yeah, Mr. Scanlon.
So back when, I think it happened back in Joanna's time when she had it, the building had fallen to great disrepair. Charlie Swain bought it. He did some work and got it, just all the plumbing going and heating in it, did some repair. Just couldn't make it a go. He sold it to Joanna Oliver, who did it. And when Charlie originally wanted to open it up, he said the only way that he can make it work, and he came before the Board of Selectmen, was to, and with zoning, I believe, too, that if he could get parking spaces, either the building would just sit in disrepair and eventually fall down. And I remember an agreement being made that they would designate all but one of the diagonal spaces out there to the Tilton Inn at that time, so as to make it viable to do it.
1875.
In 1875, and that was Tilton Inn, then it became 1875, and that's traveled with it. There were some other agreements with the snow plowing, that there was no place to park pilot, but that
came later.
yeah, that could be a parking space or whatever.
Right.
And while they're cleaning up the downtown, which they do for all the businesses and all the sidewalks, they agreed to just take a couple scoops and take that out. while they clean the sidewalks, because we're responsible for cleaning the sidewalks.
There's a lot of things that people say, oh, I can't find this and I can't find that. If they look hard enough, they're gonna be able to find them. Look in the minutes. There's town clerk, tax collector, keeps all the records of the minutes of the select board meetings dated back 10 years ago. Knock on Catherine's door. She can give you the history and maybe even have the agreement. There's plenty of
I talked to
places that,
She didn't have it?
What Catherine said to me was that what she said to me was that the town painted those lines so that the state would not take the parking spaces away from the town.
Right.
And at some point, signs went up in front of the parking spaces, but there was never any permission by the town given.
Yeah.
That's what she said.
I was sitting here when we did it.
And she said, I said, well, then you just let them go up. And she said, yeah, they just went up.
Think of how unlikely that is.
Well, I'm
As
just
you
telling,
say.
you just asked me to ask Catherine and I
Uh-huh.
had the conversation.
we were here on the board that when he came before us and we granted him.
I definitely was, and I'm guessing that he has copies of pertinent information.
And
Can't imagine he would throw that stuff away.
this isn't the only place in town we do this.
It is.
Winnisquam Market.
Market.
Those are
correct?
not, those are town. It says 2-hour parking. It does not have,
those. I'm not talking about those. Winnisquam,
Talking about the ones right in front of the building.
touching the building along with the same ones, because now he has a sign up there facing his Winnisquam bar that says
Correct.
just for him,
Right,
private parking, when that's actually town property there.
right.
And we've just sort of promote to keep a business alive and generate tax money for us. Because if not, if we didn't have any parking for any of the businesses or an inn, it would fail, and
it just,
he pays taxes.
We have an
just
agreement
like
with
we do.
Billy Lawrence for 30-minute parking.
30 minutes.
Right in front of his.
Right in front of his thing, because it was, people were parking 2 hours
And I think
and he
these
couldn't get any
sandwich-
businesses.
however, these signs specifically say, the Winnisquam Market,
Yeah.
I'm sure does too, but these signs specifically say, and they say that you will be towed,
Don't say that.
you will be towed. That's municipal, so that as I look at it, that's a little bit different, because in front of Bryant and Lawrence, it's 30-minute parking. There's no, and it doesn't say Bryant and Lawrence 30-minute parking, it says 30-minute parking.
Yeah,
So there's a difference, there becomes the difference there, and just, I guess I'm trying to guide us here is that this could open up a Pandora's box.
So we have to see what the agreement was originally. And I know it was a big thing at the meeting, just trying to make, and I remember it was over viable parking, or they couldn't have a business.
They now have a private lot.
Private lot is to the business next door, not to the inn.
Private lot that they purchased here. That's Onions parking, it specifically says Onions parking, and no one else can park there.
Oh, over at the medical
Where the-
building.
where
the-
or whatever, yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
That's a new thing.
they're coming, yeah, but they're coming in for a site plan for that building, which is specifically, that parking is specifically for that building.
Not right now, it isn't.
They have a nice sign there that says
Their
onions
patrons park there
parking.
now, it says
Within the
Onions
next
parking.
month or so, it'll be.
It's a private park.
Does that qualify as off-premise sign?
Put up any sign they want on private park.
Oh, I know, but I'm saying that they now have
That's
dedicated parking for
Yeah.
their patrons if they wanted to.
Yeah.
So I think there's the number of issues there.
The fact of the matter is, do you want to renege on a
I want to see,
whether a handshake or whatever, or before the board the Board of Selectmen at the time made that deal with those people, and whatever that deal was, they said, this is what was gonna be. Are you willing to say, no, thank you, sorry,
Yeah.
new players in the field here, we're gonna break the deal?
Not
Is that what
if
you wanna
if the
do?
deal exists, and if legally exists, that's fine, but I mean, where is it? That's the
It
question.
should be in the
Well,
minutes.
a lot of
Did
those,
some research.
No,
yeah,
Did some research.
right, a lot of those deals back then were in the minutes, not, you can't say legally exist, because they were in the minutes. They came before the board, said, okay, we're gonna do this.
We would
They have to be in the minimum,
We'd
they
have
have to
to-
be in the minutes.
We'd have had to take a vote for that. There's no way that
And-
casual discussion in the minutes would.
Wouldn't
This
it
was
be-
before our time with Joanne Oliver.
But it also,
Yeah.
wouldn't it be ceding over municipal land to a private business?
Yep.
Which would have to go in front of town meeting,
Perhaps, I don't know.
which Bittern Lane was a warrant article.
There was also-
And I'm not, trust me, I'm not anti-business, but all I'm saying is that this question that was raised.
There was a land dispute too, because part of the Tilton Inn's land, actually 2 feet of the back corner of this building
Yeah.
turned out to be on
There.
the Tilton Inn's land. And part of the idea, well, if you allow me to park, if you're not gonna allow me to park and work with me, maybe you should take your building off my land.
That was part of it.
Remember that?
That wasn't,
So-
yeah, it was part of it, it wasn't a major thing about it.
Yeah.
But I remember Joanne Oliver coming in shortly after that to renew it, and I was on the board at that time. We renewed it. I think you were on the board at that time.
I wasn't, I just remember
My,
watching.
my experience with Al, I was Joanne. So it would have been just before I came on the board. Because he wanted to keep them, and I think he was even asking for others, but he didn't do that.
So I guess you need to redirect and go back to the question. Individually, I don't want to accept the check.
I agree with Scott.
We painted them, right?
We did.
Our-
And that was where the question came from. That very honestly, because I spoke with the person who asked the question, and the question came from, why is taxpayer money painting lines on private spots? That was the question. So just working on getting to the bottom of it and
Well,
wanting
if he's
to work
willing to
with it.
pay that amount of money, he can hire somebody to do it instead.
I'll be very honest, I'd be comfortable, cover up the, we're gonna tell you. It's a municipal thing. No one else has. You shouldn't be able to tow out of what are technically municipal spots.
He does do removal of snow. And
Well,
don't
he
know about
piles
the-
it up into a pile.
and then that's
We could see a private spot.
what office.
Just leave the onion cover up the top. So, okay,
Okay, we'll
next
find
one,
out.
yeah. Riverfront Park,
Well, I only heard from two.
okay, sorry.
Oh, I said no.
I didn't
No,
hear it.
I'm a no.
no, no.
No,
No check.
Not for now.
Jim Cropsey, advisor, Riverfront Park Commissioner, reached out to him and suggested a land swap to address the parking issues at Riverfront Place and Riverfront Park. He wanted to know if the town had sanctioned the idea, although he did not think it was possible. In preparation for the meeting, I did reach out to Land and Water Conservation Fund to find out if it would be possible, and they said, yes, it could be done. Is this something the selectmen would like to pursue with Mr. Cropsey and or the Parks Commission?
Why would you reach out to the LWCF?
To find out if it was possible.
Who owns the land swap? Who owns the land that it's the town, right?
Mhm,
And where are we swapping? His property on Mill Street?
mhm. Are you asking me, are you saying that I shouldn't have?
No, I'm just trying to figure out why would be that would be involved.
Well, I
I'm
think
just trying
the
to
ne-
work my head through this.
Well, I think the initial question is a park commissioner, what he wanted to know is, was that sanctioned by the board? Because a park commissioner said, let's do a land swap.
Which
This
is not
A
sanctioned.
brand new
never should have
thing to
been.
me.
So the answer back to Cropsey is no, it was not sanctioned. And
That's correct.
do you have any interest in pursuing it?
Yes.
I would listen to what was presented, but I'd like to know which member of one of our town boards is offering to trade town property away.
Well, this would be the property that's already lined and marked down on the bottom. Have to be an awfully good deal.
Well, we can listen to his proposal, but I still want to know who wants to trade away town property.
I agree.
That's my first concern.
I wouldn't be, I'm a selectman and I would have never approached Mr. Cropsey with any kind of potential offer for a land swap. I mean, that just seems out of line, whoever it was.
Okay.
That's all I have. One other thing, actually, we've got a proposal from a company, or I should say the board did, for a solar project in Meredith, or excuse me, Tilton.
And I heard they're gonna put them floating out of Lakewood of Woonsocket.
Not expecting you to make a decision, just giving you the information.
Not at 10:30.
Technically, it's 26 minutes of 11. Community solar.
Your side yard.
That's where the goes.
I'm gonna need to really look at this and study it. Is this the large project that?
No.
No, this is a different one. Sweet.
Does it tell us where?
All set, Jeannie?
Does it tell us in this package where?
I don't think so. I think it's just.
It's just a concept? Okay.
All right.
Any new
That's
business?
a site plan.
That in new
Joe
business.
has some.
I have one last thing.
Mr. Jackson.
Motion to adjourn.
Second. Motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. Those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Yay.
Motion passes.
Yeah, well, you stay. I'm
I
out.
thought Pat was already on the elevator. It's her saying
Oh, we
that.
gotta turn that off.
It says with the site plan, but I don't see anything that's actually a site plan in here.